Oh, Pog. Okay, okay, Pog. Alright, sweet. This is actually really cool. Okay, let me open this up real quick. Yeah, this is cool. So like this. Alright, so I'm assuming SS is like personal favorite. Oh, you can actually delete. Let's rename it fave or something. SS doesn't really make any sense to me. Alright, so okay, so S tier fight. Definitely gotta bring A there, right? Gotta definitely bring A there for sure. But you can't even have them in both. You can have them in both. I'm not gonna use favorite then. If I can't do both. All right, so S tier definitely A there. I don't see ultimate. I don't see any ultimates in here. Right, just assume that ultimates are S tier as well. Put A6S and actually do the bottom up for the content. Okay, bottom up first. We got T1 for sure. Actually, you know what? T1 was I would say it's a T1's probably like a C tier. Okay, this is. So, do you want to do it from the bottom up column wise or like fight wise? In terms of like column wise, let's see. T3 for sure. Get the fuck down there. Okay. So T3 is definitely on the very bottom. T3 is definitely on the very bottom. Let's see. There's not really. I don't think I'd name any fight in F tier. Actually, I would. Actually, I would. This is kind of weird to see. Okay, put OTS down here as well. Actually, you know what? As much as I dislike O2S, I wouldn't give it an F. I wouldn't give it an F. I don't think I'd give any fight aside from T3 an F. I think A2S is fine. A2S was fine for a fight. Nah, I wouldn't give O6S. Like, I'd give A2S probably a D. A2S was very interesting. Even though it was an ad fight, the Gobwalker mechanic and doing it properly was really, really fun. Yeah, T3 is definitely bottom of the barrel. Final Omega? I'd probably give Final Omega a D or an E. The issue here is that there's so many different tiers. T9, I'd probably give it a B. While T9 was a really good fight when it came out, T9 definitely didn't age well. Like if you go back into T9 now, it's pretty simplistic. Like if T9 came out now, like back then, I'd probably give like an A or an S. But just because, yeah, it didn't age well. Down to a B. We'll just start with these. We're just gonna go through in turns. So T1, I'd give T1 a C, just because the platform mechanic was definitely very interesting. I really like the platform. I really like the mechanic of splitting them up too. So what you had to do is you had to split them up, you know, take them on separate sides of the arena. You also had to get off certain platforms that were glowing. So I'd give it a C. I'd give it a C. T2 was the ADS node one. Probably give it a C as well. D, really? I didn't mind. Like, I thought. See, okay, so if you do it legit, right? Okay, sorry. If you do this legit, it's a C. If you do it by waiting for the enrage to happen, it's a D. Most groups ended up waiting for the enrage and never did it like legit. But I really like the system where if you went down one route, the boss would have different debuffs than if you went down the other route. I thought that was really interesting. Too bad it didn't really matter because teams would just end up waiting for the enrage to happen, so the debuffs didn't really matter. Yeah. I'm gonna keep it in C. I'm just gonna keep it in C for now. A6S is kind of out of order. Let me put it back. T4, D. T4 definitely a D. T5, give it a B as well. T5 is... It's definitely not on the same level as T9. Actually... this is tough. T4 was the elevator fight, Deimata. T4 was the elevator fight. I need to think here. So, while T5 was a good fight, the mechanics, again, like, they didn't age very well. If you go back into T5, it's actually extremely easy, especially if you did Coil, like UCOB. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely not on the... Wait, what? Is it... Wait, what? Click presentation? It's a B. Like, I feel like if it's a B... If it's a B, I have to move T9 up to an A. Because it's definitely not on the C. It's definitely not at the same level. Yeah, the boss would just start spamming AoEs, so you'd have to burn it down. Yeah, we're talking about, I guess, I mean, if we're talking about when they came out. Okay, so should we, let's ask, okay, stream, should we base the fights when they came out, or how they are now, in terms of mechanics? It's up to you guys. No, BGM. Not really. It's just fight design, I guess. When it came out, when it was relevant? Okay. So we'll move T9 to an A. We'll give T5 a B. But you said there was a click presentation thing? What's this? Oh, Pog. I can actually see now. Alright. So when they came out, Nail was pretty difficult. I mean, the only issue I have with it coming out is that a lot of the players back then were very, you know, they weren't as good as they are now. So... so T6, I'll give it a B. Actually, T6 I'll give it a C. T7... See, oh man, there's no T6. So there's a lot of things missing here. There's no T6 Savage. There's no Savage Coil, and there's no ultimates here in this list. T means turn. So the first raid tier was called the Binding Coils of Bahamut, I think, right? And they were called turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, and then each of the raid tiers were called turn. So the end up just being like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then we went to T13. A means Alexander, which is the Alexander raid tier. So A1 through A12S are Alexander. And O is Omega. So O1S through O12S is Omega raid tier. I don't see... I don't see an option to add to myself now, unfortunately. So T7, again, it was based off if I was a melee. So I never really liked T7 too much because it was really boring. But if you were a healer or ranged, you probably had a better time doing this fight. So overall, I'd probably give it a C. Just overall. But if you were a healer, I think you probably a B or something. I don't know. Or a healer or ranged, I mean. T8, A tier, 100%. T8 was one of the best fights ever created. Still to this day, it's one of the best fights ever created. No way. T8 Savage, especially, is one of the best fights. That tower mechanic was so unique, and it's never been reused. Dude, that tower, okay, I guess T8 normal was probably a B, but T8 Savage is definitely an A. T8 Savage is definitely an A. But there's no Savage on here for fucking T8. I'll just put it at A, whatever. T10, or wait, where's the... What's it? Yeah, T8 was the avatar with the debuff towers. And the missiles and all the stacking. T10... T10 was a really good fight. It had the mechanics in T10 were interesting, and the enrage was really interesting. Instead of it being like a hard enrage, the enrage in T10 was the arena kept getting smaller and smaller. The lightning kept getting closer and closer until you had no floor left. They would just cover the whole room. Yeah, it was really cool, but it wasn't that difficult. If we're doing this based off of fight design, I'd give T10 a C. But if we're going over like mechanic design, I'd probably give it a B. You know what, actually? Yeah, we'll keep it at C just for now. T11 was also really interesting. It involved a lot of party coordination, so I'm probably going to give it a B. It was a very, very good fight. You had the ad phase, which was very coordination heavy, and then you had the final phase, which was really coordination heavy as well, with the tethers. Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking too. I'll give T11 or T10 a B. Yeah, the mechanics in that fight were really good. T12 Phoenix definitely an A. Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. T12, the bending mechanic was revolutionary for its time, and the puddle mechanic was really revolutionary as well. So. Two new mechanics, two unique mechanics that never happened before. And we'll give T13 an A as well. Just for, again, the T13 mechanics were definitely different. There were some unique aspects to it, like... so the first phase, you had Earthshakers. I don't think we've ever seen Earthshakers before up to that point. We also had the Mega Flare Towers and Twisters. And then... the ad phase was interesting too, because the blood could only take certain damage at certain times. Same with the other one, and then the ads had to be, you know, the blue dragon ads. So T13, in terms of that, in terms of presentation, the presentation of T13 is really good. So for, let's get rid of this. So for Coil, this is what it looks like. We got so A tier. There's no S tier Coil raid. T9, T8, T12, T13, all A tier. T5, T10, T11, B tier. C tier is T1, T2, T6, T7. D tier is T4, and F tier is T3. Yeah. I mean, that was the first time we saw a double tank buster as well, I think. Like Morns, that was the first time we've seen something that hit both tanks at the same time and acquired both tanks. Alright, so going on to Alexander, we have A1S. A1S is a personal favorite. While people like to shit on A1S, I think it's a very well-designed fight, especially because you can hit both ads at the same time, or both bosses at the same time, and 2, the ad mechanic where you had to grab an ad that tethered to you, and you had to bring it to a laser to mini a missile before it minied you in time, so it was like a mini DPS check in a sense. And if you hit more than one ad, because if you hit an ad it tethered you, if you hit the wrong ad or you hit more than one, you get 2 ads on you and it would be pretty much a wipe, or you would get minied and you wouldn't be able to kill the ads in time. So I would give A1 a B for sure. A2 I'd give a D, because I mean personally I'd give it a C, but just because thinking objectively, the Gobwalker was fun and AoE jobs were fun, but it was just another trash fight in a sense. So I'll give it a D, put it next to T4. I put A8 down just while we're going over Alexander. A3S, definitely an S tier fight for sure. The mechanics in there were new. There was a lot of new mechanics like digititis and having to keep the bosses far and split and all that bullshit. You also had the tornado. I think this is one of the first arenas with environmental triggers, i.e. the 3 orbs or 3 water poles that spawn around the arena and do different effects. No, there's no other fight that can compete with T3. Like, T3 is the only F tier fight. A4S. So A4S is weird because I think A4S is one of the best coordination. Actually, it is probably the best coordination fight in the game. Having to grab tethers off players that are random, having to adjust depending on who gets sucked up into the thing. Having to carry Nisi around the whole fight, passing it between certain players, different players. However, a lot of people cheese the Nisi part, so it definitely brings down the fight's quality. If you were to do it legit, A4S would be an S tier fight. However, because people cheesed it, it's probably a B tier. Another issue, the reason it's not an A tier is because Nisi is just a bad mechanic overall. If Nisi was like an Allegan Rot type mechanic, they just had to keep passing through and through the whole fight, letting it never drop, I think A4S would have been really good. Because Nisi did damage, but if it was a Rot type ability, it wouldn't do damage. So yeah, that's why it's a B. And if you're actually, I'd probably give it a C. Because if you're a melee, you didn't do shit in this fight, right? Especially if you cheesed. If you cheese, like, I think I was on Monk when we did this. I legit did no mechanics. The only mechanics I did was stacking for the big orb in final phase and helping kill one of the Jagdalls. I was just on the leg the whole time. But I think I'm gonna give it a B. We're gonna keep it at B. Just because again, it's one of the biggest coordination fights. Like, it's really good for that, so I'll give it that at least. A5S, I'll give it an A. I think A5S was really intuitive, really intuitive. You had the boss getting a defense up stat. You had the boss getting a defense up stat when it was big, and it had a normal defense when it was small, and you could plan your burst timings around that. And I thought that was so cool because I think A5S is the only fight in the game, aside from like Suzaku or something, where you don't burst at the start. You actually hold your burst for after it gets small and you blow it up there, which changed like a lot. And I thought that was really cool. You also had the puddle mechanic, which was really interesting, like the gorilla mechanic pushing the bombs into the corner. You had the snake mechanics that dropped the poison on you. You had to cleanse it with the green puddle. There's just a lot of cool things in that fight that were really, revolutionary to the game. So I'm gonna give it an A. Yeah, A5S is my favorite first boss. Yeah, it's really good. A6S, I'll give it an A as well. Even though it's a little buggy, which is probably my only issue with it. It was a little buggy. It was still like a really well designed fight. Like just overall, you know, you had Blaster, which was like dive bombs, the mines. I think that was it actually, just dive bombs, mines. You had the ad phase, and then the brawler, which was, you know, single drill, double drill. You had the orbs during that phase, and you had Swindler, which is up and down. Then you had the ads. Then you had Vortexer, which was, you know, ice, fire. The earth mechanic was the whole minus tier, yeah, is an A, aside from Brute Justice. Because I think A7S was also A tier. Like A7S was... Actually, you know what? Okay, I think this is my bias. I'm just going to keep it at A. I was going to move A5 to S tier, but it did have its issues. Like A1 or A5 was really short of a fight. But A7S is also A. A7 was also very revolutionary in terms of mechanics. You had the jail mechanic, which we've never seen before. We've never seen the jail mechanic before. The arena was very, very interesting. You had a small circle arena that was a safe spot, in the corners were safe as well, and the whole arena was dangerous aside from that. So you couldn't leave the circle in the middle, and you couldn't leave the squares if you had to go to the outside. And then you had the bombs that would go on you, and you'd have to like kind of like adjust. And then the jail system is really interesting. Each jail had like a job. Like the red jail was a caster jail, the green jail was a healer jail, the purple jail was a melee jail, you know, the white jail was a tank jail, and you had to like the prey target was random, right? So you had to pass the preys depending on what jail order it was and where it was going. And then like there was a tether too, which you would have to grab and get sucked in. But that was really cool. And then the balls coming down during the ad phase with the heart was really interesting. A7 was actually really brutal, because I remember most groups, including mine, if we got the last jail set, we would wipe. Because that last jail set was brutal. That last jail set was so hard. Like it was like caster jail, 2 small ads, 1 big ad with a tank jail. So you had to kill the two small ads before they exploded. And then you had also the I don't remember what the second set was. Oh, it was bombs too. Yeah, A7S also had a mechanic where if you died, no, you didn't even have to die. If you DC'd, you died or whatever, the boss would get a damage up stack. And at minimum eye level, which is what I'm grading all these fights at, I'm grading all these fights at min eye level, you were pretty much guaranteed a wipe unless you were God. Because there's actually one mechanic in there called the Sizzle Beam, where, so when the boss did its AoE attack, each AoE it did gave you a lightning debuff, right? That had like a 10-second duration, and sometimes it would do 2 back-to-back, and that did massive damage because of the debuff. But there was one mechanic where it actually, if it did a Sizzle Beam right after the AoE, so the Sizzle Beam was lightning damage, right? And because it was lightning damage, it was being amplified by the debuff, and it would pretty much instant kill you if it ticked twice. So you required like an Adlo shield like right away, and a lot of range die from that. Yeah, it was pretty good. And A8 of course is S tier fight. A9S, I'd give it a C. The mechanics in A9S were really... This is not that's not the Persona music I want to listen to. Alright, I'm just gonna listen to Spotify, I guess. Actually... let's put some Final Fantasy music. Pog. Alright, so A9S, while it was like, I think it was not a bad fight. I think a lot of people don't give enough credit. The mechanic with the ad phase, or the ads, we had to pick up the generator, drop the generator on the ads, and then bring it to a lava platform, and then kill the ads on the lava platform before the lava actually happened. It's pretty interesting. The Foss mechanic was pretty interesting, where the Foss would come down, it would tether, and then you had to kill the Foss on a lava platform to kill it. And then you obviously had the, you know, the rock placements, and then the later half of A9 was actually pretty. It wasn't easy. It was pretty struggling at mid-eye level. What the bombs even do? You talking about the generators? I think the bombs just exploded, right? I don't remember. No, wait, I think you used them to kill something.
This is where I'm gonna be 90 degrees from sun.
Let's watch it on stream. Fuck it.
This is where I'm gonna be 90 degrees from south, and you guys are.
There we go. Quality fix itself. It's like right here, the boss would eat the ads here. It would gain an arm. And these things right here, these power generators, you would pick them up and you would drop them on ads. So one healer would get this one. Looks like they have the tanks doing it. One of the tanks doing it.
Can you give your goats?
You drop the generator in between these. They would explode, and they would pick up the ads, right? And you had to bring them to this platform. You could tell this one's the lava platform because you can see like the little arrows on the side, I guess, indicating that it is.
Technical balance on this.
Line of sight.
And you see the lava platform ate all the ads. And again, this is the second set of ads. This is the Foss phase right here. This was a proximity AoE. It did a lot of damage. And then the boss would get tethered to the Foss, and you couldn't damage the boss. You can see he's doing like very little damage to it. You had to focus the Foss down. This was the last platform that exploded with lava. It was this platform, then the A platform. So it was that platform. Oh, actually no, it was the where's he looking right now? This is what? This is, so it's the northwest platform, northeast platform, and then it was the southwest platform and southeast platform. Oh, I forgot about these AoEs too during it. Dude, those acid rains hurt. Holy moly. And this thing was cleaving too. This thing was cleaving. So it was there's a little coordination there. And these AoEs are just rocks that you have to hide behind that spawn on players for the scrap burst. Like, this was a pretty interesting fight. What did Power Surge do? It amplified your jump damage by 30%, I believe. So here's the after ad phase. This one's not too bad. It's just it looks scary, but it's really not that scary. So this ad spawn, and what you would do is you would have the healer take it, and this has the same effect. This has the same effect as it did in A1S, where it would mini you after a certain amount of time. So what the healer would do is the healer would grab one, and then they would get tethered to it, right? So this thing was only attacking the scholar in this clear, and what you had to do is you had to keep it alive until a certain point because you needed to get mini to survive a mechanic in here. So you would lower it down as much as possible and then hold DPS on it.
There you go.
And just wait until after the ads.
Ads. For the ads, yeah.
Yeah, power surgical animation.
Back up.
Microphone activated.
Microphone activated. So right here it's gonna eat the big dude.
Fuck pal.
Behind.
Wait. Do not wait with the mini. Wait with the mini. Wait.
It also gains HP back when maybe that's another reason why the boss had so little HP. Maybe it was like anticipating being eaten.
Go.
So double scrap line, what you would have to do is you get minied here,
Yeah.
Keep it up until after.
which was pretty cool.
Okay, good.
That was pretty cool.
Okay, stay in this
Bomb
corner.
entered.
So where the bombs will be.
I think the bombs were just there. You couldn't be on that platform. Deimata.
Oh. Someone needs to do the second thing.
Yep.
Generator. Spencer's got it.
I am in the corner. Get ready to all be when the third one comes. Kill the ads.
Like, this is a pretty hectic fight, I think, past this point.
On the platform, all of them. God, please. Okay, never mind.
Okay, kill the boss.
Sent. Throw out.
Kill it.
Yeah, they would just explode on a certain platform.
Oh,
And then there was another, I think the one after this set, it was 2 platforms covered in bombs.
move. Move with the boss.
Oh fuck. Yeah. I turned it.
What was that?
That's it though. Yeah. Yeah, see there's one there's one right here, one right there. Let me see if I can get the whole arena. So you had to pick the power generator up, put it on this side and that side, and get the ads away from the bombs, and then place it over here. So it was a very interesting fight for sure. Very, very cool. Alright, so back onto the list. Let's see. Where were we? We're at A9, right? A10. Give it a B or an A. Just because 1, the arena of the fight was cool. 2, the boss of that fight, the mechanics in the fight were cool. And 3, the environmental triggers were really cool, like pressing the buttons and stuff. So I think 10 is a definite A. A11. Give it a B. A11 was another really good fight. The first phase was kind of boring, but the second phase after Lapis Lazuli, or actually Lapis Lazuli was a good phase. Too bad you could skip it like week 2 though. But the Pyro phase was really good, and then the Tower phase was really, really good. And Limit Cut was good. Limit Cut was a really, really good mechanic as well. That was the first time we've ever seen something like that. What website is this? This is tiermaker.com. Then A12S will give it A because just, the first phase was, interesting. Time Gate was revolutionary. Inception was the first time we've seen something like that before as well. Judgment Crystal placement was really interesting. And Time Stasis was a really cool mechanic. Having all your buffs and, debuffs stop when it did that mechanic, and then having to place the deformations. We're just making the fights. Yeah, the skipping made it pretty uninteresting. Like, the skipping was cool for some things, but there was something skipping made really annoying. Like, Lapis Lazuli, for example. Why you could skip it, which was cool. I feel like Lapis Lazuli was a pretty good phase. Decent phase. But, yeah. So this is Alexander. 2 S tier fights, A3, A8. A tier fights are A5, A6, A7, A10, A12. B tier fights were A1, A4, A11. C tier fight A9, and D tier fight A2. And then going on to Omega, we have O1S. I'm going to give O1S a... It's either a C or a D. It was really fun. It was pretty healing intensive, but it was really, really easy. I'm gonna give it a C. While the mechanics weren't too difficult, the DPS check was non-existent. The mechanics were fun, but they weren't hard. The healing was decent. Actually, healing in O1S was probably one of the most healing intensive fights in all of Omega. If you think about it in retrospect, mainly because the twin bolt hurt like a bitch, right? No, there's some D tier fights in Omega. The twin bolt hurt like a bitch, and then the swipes he does hurt like a bitch as well. There was a lot of AoE damage in O1. And then you had the Charybdis into Tank Buster into the twin bolt. There was a lot of movement. I'm gonna give O1 and C just because while the mechanics weren't punishing and while the DPS check was really easy, the mechanics in O1 were a lot more fun to execute than a lot of the Omega fights, other Omega fights. I would probably, okay, if we're talking about low tier fights, okay, well, this is called the bad but good tier. We'll put O1 there. Well, I don't want to say it's easy. Easy but good. There we go. Easy but good. And then O2S is probably, we'll do O2S as D tier. Actually, O2S is, I just kind of want to, I'm gonna get rid of E. I feel like there's no reason. I've never seen E as a grade tier, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. I don't think anything is as bad as F. F is like, well, like when you do fucking grades, right? You don't see people getting graded when you're grading something. You do, you know, you get an A or you get a B or you get a C, you get a D or you get an F. No one does E's. No one does E's. I hated O2, yeah. I think it was really bad. The fucking duty action mechanic just really wore it down. Well, when people, like, I've seen S being thrown around a lot, like S tier, like no one does E tier. I've never seen someone say E tier or like kind of like that. It's either like F tier, D tier, C tier, B tier, A tier, S tier, SS tier, or triple S tier, or something like that. You think O2S is better than O1? I didn't like it. I think O2 was really bad. It's just the duty action was so clunky. O3S was an A tier fight. Probably the only A tier fight in all of Omega. O4S X Death was B tier. Neo X Death was C tier. This is the train. Train was probably, I had a lot of fun doing train, and it wasn't like it wasn't like just a brain AFK striking dummy. You still had to do some mechanics like the pushback ghost, and then you had head on, which you could mitigate, which was cool, and then you had cheesing the ghost, and you had a bunch of stuff. So I'll give it a C. Six, give it a D. Actually, you know what? Six was, the mechanics were, fuck it, dude. I'm gonna give Phantom Train a D and give 6 a C. Just because the only reason 6 is a C is because The mechanics were pretty interesting. It's just they weren't really executed properly. Yeah. I mean, Phantom Trend was fun. It's just, I don't know. 6 was... 6, I hated 6. I thought 6 was so annoying to heal too. I don't know. I'm pretty split on this. I don't know if it's a D or a C. Okay, we'll switch. We'll give Phantom Train back to C. We'll give D to the give a C plus. 07, I'll give 07 a B. I liked 07 a lot. The 07 was pretty fun. A lot of people hate 07 because it has 2 different timelines, but I don't really understand that because I don't know why. So people are weird, right? People bitch like, oh my god, everything is so scripted. And then when they get a fight that's like, you know, not scripted that much, or like it has some sort of RNG, and they're like, oh my god, this is so stupid. Like it's what? Make up your mind. The only issue I had with Guardian at the start, which was like not even patched until like 5 months in, was the virus issue. There is a pretty bad bug here because people had different latencies. Sometimes the virus bug would break and give you hysteria even if you were right next to them because people got pushed back at different times and it was really clunky. They fixed it eventually, but it was really bad for a long time. Luckily, my static didn't have an issue with it for too long. Yeah, but I'll give Guardian a B. I thought it was pretty fun. I liked doing it. I thought the 2 different routes were really interesting. There was a mechanic where you had to stop moving, which was fun. I mean, it wasn't during actually it was during uptime. And then the praise. Ooh, those praise hurt. Oh yeah, the rockets were good. Yeah, I'd always love seeing people get hit by rockets. 07S without a paladin. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Kefka. I'll give Kefka a C. This is Clown Kefka. It was pretty boring. I didn't really like it too much. The first phase was slow, but it was like teaching you the mechanics kind of. And then the second phase after the oh, you know what gets a I can't do that. I can't do that. I was gonna be like, you know what gets a what's the only other fight that can get an F? But I'm not gonna do that because it doesn't deserve an F. I think the issue with the Kefka is like it was still boring. It was getting to the point where it was like super long because Enrage was like 6.5 minutes. So having to go through Kefka every single time to get the God Kefka eventually started getting very, very annoying. It was actually probably because the mechanics in Kefka, there's a lot of downtime. You know, you have the 3 different downtimes, the intermissions. It wasn't as bad as MNF, but it's pretty much, even at best in slot, it's pretty much the same time as Omega MNF right now. So, yeah, the question mark mechanic was interesting. Like the opposites. Everything else was pretty Resident Sleeper, though. God Kefka. God Kefka. Actually, you know what? Nah, God Kefka's not a B. Because God Kefka, if I give God Kefka a B, I have to give Neo XF a B. Because Neo XF was a way better fight than God Kefka was. just trying to think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll move train to D actually. Move train to D. I'll move Neo and God Kefka to B. Yes, this is fine. We'll move Kefka down to C. Or keep him at C. Okay, yeah, this works. I mean, that's not true. The DPS did do stuff in Neo. DPS had to do every mechanic the healers and tanks had to do. The only thing they didn't have to do was the aggro management and the healing. Like DPS still had to do Grand Cross Delta. DPS still had to do, Grand Cross Omega. DPS still had to do the light debuff. DPS still had to, position themselves properly. DPS still had to do the Delta attack properly. DPS still had to do whatever the meteors were. Yeah, 6S is down there. It's just to make it more even. Yeah, the accuracy was really interesting. I remember dun, 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 dun. I mean, it was definitely more, there's definitely more responsibility on the tank and healer side, but it was the same in God Kefka for DPS too. The other thing in Neo Xdeath was the emptiness patterns were a lot harder than Trine. Like if you put the boss north for Trine, it made Trine super easy. Whereas like emptiness, the fucking laser mechanic could get you fucked. '09. '09 I'll give a C. '09 is definitely not on the same level as God Kefka and all these, but it's still a really, really fun fight. It's probably my favorite first tier fight in Omega Savage. Actually, probably one of my favorite first tier fights in general. Probably goes A1, A5, '09, and then A5 or A9. No, I'd give 10 a C as well. One of the big things about 10, I mean, actually, I don't know, like 10 is like, there's so much, like, the fight's really long, but it's an illusion of downtime too. There's like 2 separate 45-second intermissions in that fight, as well as Dragon Phase being completely like stupid, like, like brain dead. The only thing that really happens in Dragon Phase is the tank takes a lot of damage and not to stand in front of the dragon. And then Hot Tail Phase is also incredibly boring. There's like no damage there for healers to heal, so it's literally just burn the boss and do the flame breaths correctly. 10 is a D. 10 is a D. Okay, we'll give 10 a D. Actually, no, you're right. If O2S is a D, then 10 is a D. Yeah, that's another thing. The mechanics in 10 weren't original, right? So people already had experience doing that. The only S tier fights in the game are A3A8 in the ultimate fights, to be honest. S tier fights are like fights that help make the game what it is today, or added some revolutionary mechanics or were just like incredibly difficult. I would rank it, but I don't have yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give a C. I'm gonna give 11 a C. Yeah. Like, level checker was good. The first phase of Omega or O11 was boring. Level checker was good. Penta 1 was extremely boring as well. Penta 2 was a lot better. But the element of RNG definitely helps increase this difficulty. And MNF. Actually, you know what? Fuck yeah. You know what? I wasn't gonna do it. I felt kind of bad, but you know what? MNF is definitely not on the same level as D tier fights. Put that shit at the bottom. The MNF fight wasn't bad. It was just, it's too long of a fight for a door fight. And like the first 2 minutes is like, you know, the first 2 minutes are setting the foundation, right? So the first 2 minutes they show you the mechanics, right? They show you what the bosses do, and then they combine them together after the intermission, which is fine. That's good design. It's setting the pace for the fight. Except that it's a full uptime fight that's 8 minutes long. You have to do it every time you want to get to final Omega or clear the last phase, and it's just
back from deployment, baby. What I miss.
Door fight should be a separate instance. I agree. I think if they're gonna make a door fight, they have to give it rewards, especially if it's an 8-minute fight, right? That's it's wild. You have to do an 8-minute fight just to get to the final Omega, and then yeah, MNF has an 8-minute enrage. If MNF was its own separate turn, I'd probably give it a D. Actually, you know what? I'd probably give it a C. I'd probably give it a C. The mechanics, like the presentation of the fights was decent, right? You start with the male. The male does its mechanics. It shows you what it's doing, and then it transforms into the female. Female does its mechanics, shows you what it's doing, and then it combines the two, right? So it's basically showing you, hey, you handle this like this, you handle this like this, and then they combine the two, and then they give you two different patterns to choose. Like it's a like RNG route, right? The only issue I have with MNF is that you can't attack both ads. I was really hoping that it was gonna be like an A1 style fight, but feels bad. Definitely wasn't. Yo, Heartfelt, thank you so much for a tier 1 4-month resub on a 4-month streak. Back from deployment, baby. What did I miss? Yo, welcome back, man. Glad to see ya. Also, there's someone subbed earlier. Yo, Lucy, thank you for the tier 1 2-month sub as well. Sorry I didn't get to you. I was mid convo and I lost track of my, I wasn't paying attention. But thank you so much for tier 1 2-month resub. Momo, Lurk, can we get some sub hype in chat for both of them? Yeah, I mean, I know that, but like, it's, you know what I mean. I'm not talking about like 3 seconds or 3 GCDs of damage tools. Like, I mean, they could have made it so like, they could have made it to where like, when you have to bring them into the middle, you could attack both of them at the same time. But when you split them up to the mechanics or whatever, they went back to like invulnerable. They could have made like a kind of like periodic instances where you could hit both of them at the same time. That would still be very interesting. O12S, I'm gonna give a C. O12S is the worst final fight we've ever gotten in the history of the game. It is a very badly designed. Hello World's good, but it's just Hello World can't carry. Hello World can't carry. Put it a D. He's a copycat striking dummy. See, I don't think it's the same level as A2 though. Like A2, O2, O5, O6, O10. It's definitely not the same as that. I mean, he is pretty bad. I agree. He's the worst final fight. Okay. I mean, if you're talking about, yeah. I mean, for a final fight, he's really bad. We're just doing this based off fights itself. Do I want to put anything on Xanthos? I don't have anything to put on it. I'm legit poor. And then, obviously, you know, UCOB and Uwu are S tier as well. I really wish I could make my own things. MNF is only F tier because you have to do it every day or every time you want to get through to Final Omega. If MNF was a separate instance, a solo instance, where you could just do it and get rewards, I'd give it a C probably. But because you get no rewards, which is like the biggest problem, you get no rewards from an 8-minute enrage fight. Basically, the reason X Death is so high is because I think the mechanics in X Death were better and they were more condensed. And X Death is only like a 4.5 minute fight. It's really short. Kefka. Yeah, I mean, it's just the design, I guess, too. I mean, it's like a bunch of things. Like, Kefka was like, it's bordering. Like, the length of the fight is a pretty big deal when you're evaluating fights because, like, for example, when you're evaluating like a Coil fight, right? Like Coil Savage fights, right? Like those fights are good, but they're very, very short. So that increases the difficulty or decreases it depending on how, you know, it works, right? So like, you know, UCOB is like the hardest fight because it's like a, you know, an 18-minute fight, but you know, T9 Savage has some, there's like the nail phase in there has probably harder than most UCOB mechanics, I would say. And T8 Savage is probably harder than most UCOB mechanics as well. It's just because T8 Savage and T9, they're only like, what, 7-8 minute fights? They just can't compete with like a 18-minute fight overall. And UCOB is super punishing too. So UCOB's like super punishing. Like you die in Savage and Coil Savage, you could probably recover. Or in most instances, if you fuck up a mechanic in UCOB, you wipe the group. Oh, I mean, they don't. They don't get a free pass. It's just, I mean, we put MNF here for memes. We just put it here in memes because chat told me to. I think MNF is a fine fight. It's probably a C tier fight, but the issue with MNF is that, again, like, you know, for like fight design wise, there's not much wrong. The only complaints I have about MNF is that you can't target both bosses at the same time. And so we were just talking about it, like MNF is like, it's a really good fight. It's a really okay fight in terms of design because, you know, you start with the male, right? The male happens, he does his mechanics, right? He shows you what his mechanics are. He transforms into the female. He shows you what his or her mechanics are. And then they combine, right? They combine the mechanics. They don't really add anything new. They just combine their mechanics, right? So it's a pretty, you know, well-designed fight in that aspect. But, yeah, just because for memes we put it in F. But if we're talking about design, this is probably where I would put it, a C. mechanically MNF is better than God Omega. I mean, probably. I mean, Hello World is pretty well designed. Like Hello World is like a really interesting mechanic, but it just can't carry Final Omega. Like Final Omega is just like it's just a striking dummy outside of Hello World. I don't like it too much. That's fine. I think X-Death is the best. I love the normal X-Death. I just liked how like all the mechanics were like super condensed. X-Death also had like a this is mid eye level, by the way. This is all minimum eye level. Not like Echo or Best in Slot or anything like that. This is all based on like how hard the fight was. And one of the other reasons I liked X-Death was because the DPS check on X-Death was kind of tough at mid eye level. It was kind of tough. At least compared to like Clown, Kefka, and MNF. I think that was just a byproduct of it being a very short fight though. Like I think on week 1, my group beat MNF like a minute before Enrage. Yeah, I mean like if they were full length fights and they gave rewards, I wouldn't mind door fights. I just think that if they're gonna make a door fight and they're gonna make a door fight as long as MNF, they need to give it rewards. Or they need to give it like a separate instance, because locking it behind Final Omega, or like adding Final Omega into the mix, like locking MNF behind Final Omega is like really, like a lot of people hate it, including me. And it's such a long fight that MNF is as long as a fight as like A5S, right? Or like, you know, O9S almost. Like most like first tier fights back in the day, like A5, A9, A1 was like a 9-minute enrage or something. Like all those fights are like the same length as MNF, except MNF you have to beat every single time you want to get to Final Omega, and it just, I either wish they would add like a skip for it or add rewards for it. And another issue I dislike door fights is because they take away from the final fight. Make this a Twitter topic. Yeah, I really dislike how door fights take away from the final fight. Even if you skip mechanics, I still wish they would make a real final fight. Would your opinion change it? No, 100%. If the door fight and final boss didn't have a checkpoint, you know, it'd be considered one fight. And then, yeah, my opinion would change. But then they're their own separate entity. They're like their own separate entities, right? Like they're different. They're two different fights, right? They're not combined. Can you imagine how hard Final Omega would be if you had to do MNF and then like you would wipe on patch, right? You would wipe to patch like 8 minutes in. No much time now. One of the reasons why you can prog or Final Omega so fast is because one of its major mechanics, patch, happens like 15 seconds into the fight and you can practice it over and over again. Whereas like, imagine trying to practice patch on MNF, right? That would take a lot of prog time. That would take a lot of prog time. Especially Hello World. Hello World would happen, what, 9 minutes into the fight? Hey, what's up, Himu-chan? If they were to combine both of them, I feel like they would have to take out the suppression mechanics at the end. I mean, because those are pretty much, those are pretty much whatever anyways. Like, just make M and F like only do the two like rotations, and then skip the whole suppression. So make it like a 6-minute fight, and then have like a 30 or 40-second intermission or whatever, like an ultimate style, like Tank LB3, whatever, like the old days. And then, you know, Final Mega starts at like 7 minutes, and then Final Mega ends after like Hello World 2 or something. They would obviously have to redesign the fights a little bit, but Uwu and Yukab are S tier. S tier fights are strictly fights that have like revolutionized the game in one way or another, or that are just like really well designed fights. T7's really boring on melee and tanks. T7 would be B tier, but the issue of T7 is that it's overly healers and ranged have way too much responsibility, and while melee and tanks have 0 in that fight. That's why it went down. Yeah, Garuda phase and Uwu is really, really good, yeah. That's something in the... That's something about A8 and A3 as well. A8 and A3 had like very little downtime, right? They were super long fights with barely any downtime. The only downtime you had in A8 was when the boss was transforming into his winged form, or his brute justice form. That was like the only downtime you had. Like, you had no breaks in A8. Same with A3, kind of. The only breaks you had in A3 was when it was transforming its forms, which was like only like 2 or 3 GCDs. Speaking of, it's been a really fun fight. It's Caroline and Ashman. Stack disbanded. Why did you stack disband? You guys are so close. Annihilation, you're like, is like right at the end of the fight. UCOB on
ring.
UCOB twin is really resident sleeper, yeah. On healer, yeah. You're higher on God Kef but lower on Neo. I like Neo as a DPS and a healer. I never did it on tank, but no, obviously we probably did it because I was a Dragoon, but then I played on Scholar and I was like, damn, this is really fun. So I give them both the same. I thought when I did it on Dragoon, I thought it was fun. Like, even though there was no positionals, there was like a lot of positioning requirements. Like, you know, the emptiness patterns and whatnot, having to dodge those, and then trying to get uptime during the meteor. You could do some meteor fun stuff during the meteors. I forgot they were called. What were they called? It was like some weird name. Yo, Honka Honka TV. Thank you so much for the host. Can we get a shout out command for Honka Honka TV? Did you say, yeah, Honka Honka? Oh my gosh. Well, like on Neo, right? You still had mechanics at DPS, right? You still had to do all the mechanics healers and tanks had to do. Like, you still had to do delta attack on DPS. You still had to do you know, the Grand Cross Alpha. You had to position yourself. You had to stop moving for the acceleration bombs. You still had to go to the right side of the colors. You still had to do Grand Cross Omega. You still had to do Grand Cross Delta. You know, you still had to get hit by the either die or you had to, you know, dodge, whatever. Like, the DPS and healers had, like, when I did it on healer, right, there's really nothing different than doing it on DPS. The only difference I had was actually having to heal the group, I think. Obviously, my role for Grand Cross Delta was different too, but there was nothing really too different. Alma's just didn't require that much healing. Tiger, are you stupid? Do you know how hard Alma just hit without any mitigation? Have you ever healed Almajest, Taiga?
Shut up and take my money.
Just answer that.
All of my friends quit while I was away. Pepe hands. Time to server transfer.
Yo, Ryan, thank you so much for the $10 donation. All your friends quit while you were away? Wait, Ryan, what's your Twitch name? Dude, what was the Almajest, right? What was the Almajest? Which Almajest? It was the one, the second one after Grand Cross Omega. You had no mitigation for, and that shit would just run you down. Oh, Heartful, you're Ryan. All your friends left. No! Yeah. Grand Cross Omega was pretty fun to heal too. I think a lot... Bog, it was you who made the Reddit post, right? That was like, stop... Was it stop dying on 3? Because I think PF would always die on 3. And it was like, fucking stop! Stupid! Dude, I hated that. Like, every time I would do PF on Healer or like Scholar, and I was like, you know, learning it back then, I was like, no, like, all the healers in the party like, die on 3rd, please. And it's just like, you have so much time to heal up during the downtime. Just heal. Yeah, because you had less time to heal before the Almajest and, or no, it wasn't the Almajest. It was the wave AoE, whatever, like the tank soak, whatever. Then it was Almajest. But yeah, it was really annoying to heal. Dying on 3rd is as peanut brain as DPS in. Wait, someone said, let me scroll real quick. Up to too much. Based on too late, do you have any fight designs you wish you could implement to a new fight? Yeah, I do actually. I wish they would bring back the I thought the tower mechanic in T8 was never used again, but it's probably one of the best mechanics they ever created. Like, the tower mechanic was good. Actually no, they did bring it back. They brought it back in the sense of A5. A5 was like kind of like the tower mechanic. And A5 was also really fun because of that.
Take my money.
I'm coming to your server, Pog.
Pog. But I'm trying to think, like T8, the tower, like the tower, like any like environmental, like I wish, like one of the biggest issues I have with the Omega fights you get some Pepe DDs in chat. Hell yeah, thank you so much for the 5 gift of subs, heartfelt. If you guys got a tier 1 sub, hope you enjoy your tier 1 emotes. One of the best one of the best mechanics that a lot of Omega fights don't have are environmental triggers, and I probably said this like 100 billion times, but like I really wish they would bring back shit like that. Like A5, you know, the puddles, A6, you know, the up and down, like anything that involves using the environment as a mechanic is generally a really good fight. But a lot of the fights, like, no, even 11, outside of level checker, 11 wasn't really anything environmental. Like, there was just no environmental like effects. Like 09 was like, it's like 09 didn't really have anything. It just had like the, you know, the AoEs, which kind of cut off like the arena in some aspect. I don't really consider that anything environmental. 010 didn't really have anything environmental as well. It was just a striking dummy and dodging AoEs. You know, 011 had level checker. That's considered environmental, but again, that was only for like 1 minute of the fight. And then you had 012 and 012. There was the eye in MNF, which was interesting, but there wasn't really too much to They didn't really do too much. They didn't really do too much. It just shot a laser every like other minute. Oh, I guess the ice ground. Yeah, the ice ground in O10. But again, that wasn't really something environmental because I don't know. I don't really consider that environmental because it's just like you didn't even have to do it sometimes. Like if you got the end pattern, you never had to slide unless you were the healer. Big Fest, I wouldn't consider Big Fest environmental either. Like something like the only things I consider environmental are like, you know, the puddles in A5. We had to go to like, you know, whatever to do a mechanic. A6, you know, stunning and doing the orbs before they got into the middle, and then, you know, using the tornado, the water tornado and vortexer and up and down. Well, that doesn't really count.
Isn't there a free roll transfer thing going on? Or am I mistaken?
Maybe not. Maybe not how it felt. It's supposed to end today, so you should check. Yeah, A7 jails and the floor. Yeah, 06S was environmental. 06S. 05S was technically environmental. I would consider 05S an environmental fight because of the ghost boxes. 06S had paintings. 07 had the missiles. And what else did it have? I think it just had the missiles, right? Yeah, O3S had a lot. O3S had a shit ton of factors. That's why O3S is the only Omega fight that's an A tier fight.
Yeah! Colon carrot.
Yo, what's up, Hacks? Dude, you coming back? Yeah, you had the green blobs, but like when I don't really consider that like a mechanic. It's the same way like the ice floor isn't really an environmental trigger. It's like something that either you have to use or have to dodge, kind of, or manipulate. Coming back, gross. I mean, I saw you playing the other day. You're playing with on UCOB, Xeno and them. T7S, T7S I would consider. That's like the only floor mechanic I would consider environmental, just because it was random and it would change. Like the floor mechanic in that fight was pretty environmental because, like, you know, it went from like, you know, random like circles in the arena. You had to keep dodging. So I would consider that, I guess. That's like borderline though. Yeah, Renaults were environmental. You know, A10S had the buttons, A9S had the generators that you had to put down. A11S had the towers, A12S had judgment crystals. My favorite fight, 03. Unless you're talking about Ultimate. If you include Ultimate.
Take my money.
Hi, I'd like to throw my hat in for S tier fights. I thought the opener on my fight was one of the genius mechanics, and then I had amazing environmentals with the DDR breakdance interlude. Oh, and then all the noobs Mario Karting around the area.
You right. Too bad you're an easy fight in a primal. Get fucked, Suzaku. Fuck you, Suzaku, you suck. Get out of my channel. This is a Susano only channel. If any other primals are watching and your name isn't Susano, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. You're making me a primal tier list? Pog. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Hurry up, Scott. I mean, this is my opinion, right? This is my preferences. Like, so for example, Bok Choi said, you know, he liked God Kefka more than Neo. Midas is the best tier. Yeah, every fight on Midas was A tier, in my opinion. And then A8 was S tier. I loved Neo. I loved it. Oh yeah, there is a primal. There's quite a few primals at B rank or higher. Thoradin is one of the best fights ever created in the game. And it's a primal. Like mechanical wise, like Thoradin is one of the best fights. Like I'm pretty confident when I say that if Thoradin was more punishing and the mechanics actually one shot and like wipe the party, Thoradin would probably be close to an ultimate level fight mechanically. Like those mechanics in the last phase were brutal. And if one person fucked up and wiped the raid, if they were tuned to where if one person like messed up or wiped, like those would fuck you up.
Shut up and take my money.
Wow, so rude. We're best friends with Sasano. Wherever he goes, we go to. Revel in our primal ways.
Oh, Tsukiyomi. Is that the one with the boring ass 3-minute intro phase? Thoradin's like a really good fight, yeah. I mean, it's a primal, and it wasn't like, it's obviously not as hard as an ultimate, like DPS wise or like mechanical wise, just because in Thoradin you can cripple your way through, but like the mechanics, like if they were tuned to a certain extent, like if they were tuned to like wipe you, or if they were tuned to like instant wipe you if one person messed up, then Thoradin would definitely be one of the hardest fights mechanically. Yo, Shafu, thank you so much for the host. Can we get a shout out come in for Shafu? This is Savage Fights, yeah. No, there's no Savage Fights East Coast. Or Hack, something like East Coast. There's no Savage Fights in this thing. There's no Ultimate or Savage Fights, or Second Coil Savage Fights. We ranked the fights, Shafu. We ranked the fights from difficulty and fight design. Actually, it's less difficulty, more fight design. O3S is A tier. It's the only O3 that's A tier. Or it's the only Omega Savage that's A tier. Dude, A9S was really good. I mean, we watched the video on stream. A9S was a really, really good mechanical fight. It was just... It's because it was a striking dummy. Why is O10 so high? What? It's not. It's a D tier. It's literally second to last. O3 means Omega turn 3. Alright, so if I was grading Savage fights based on... Wait. Okay, let's bring them down here for now. If I was grading Savage Coil fights, I'd probably put T8 as an S tier fight. T8 Savage as an S tier fight, just because T8 Savage, I mean, the tower mechanic was really good. The coordination check in that fight was really good.
Shut up and take my money.
Just wanting to say thank you for the videos in the stream. They have really helped me and others I have shown them to get better at the game. You're invaluable to this community, and I hope the expansion treats you well content-wise.
Yo, thank you so much, Zek Heals, for the $10 donation. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you so much, man. It means a lot to me. Thank you again for the generous $10 donation. Yeah, T8 was really good. You like that they punished the stacking circles? Show off the knockback. Yeah, the knockback, if someone was too close. Yeah. I'd probably give T6 a B. T6 Savage a B. just again because it was a pretty, you know, you had to actually do the mechanics where you could just cheese them before. So to give T6 Savage a B, T7 Savage, it's either a B or an A. I mean, again, T7 Savage is extremely boring for if you're not a healer or ranged because you literally just do nothing. So I'm just gonna put T7 in a B. And then T9 is probably an A tier. I don't know. T9 is Savage either S tier or A tier. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, it does. That's why it's not as high. Like if you're healing or doing ranged on T7 Savage, it's probably like an A tier or S tier. But because the responsibilities are so split, it's just not fun to do. I'll probably keep T9 Savage at A. Just because the first phase is pretty much the same. The golem phase is pretty much the same as well, except the meteors came out a lot faster and you had to actually, you know, change the strat and actually do it legit. Heaven's Fall was really good with the meteors. And then you know, the meteors during dive bombs and stuff too. That was fun. Yeah. Heaven's Fall and meteors during dive bombs probably my favorite. Everything else is the same as UCOB though, for the most part. You know, the double thunders, all that bullshit. I'm gonna keep it at A, because TA is like on a whole nother level than T9 Savage. Like TA was fucking amazing. You thought T13 was boring and slow? I thought it was really nice. The only reason I don't put T6 above T7 is because I don't think T7 is, you know, on the same difficulty or same level as these three. Like these are pretty, you know, these aren't on the same level, and then T6 isn't really on the same level as these as well. I mean, actually, maybe. I feel like this is fine. T13 was boring. T13 was, it added a lot of mechanics that were new for the time. Like Morin, we've never seen Morins before, right? We've never seen a double tank buster before. Same with like, you know, having to, you know, the ad that kept switching debuffs. We didn't see that before either. Like there was a lot of new mechanics in there that we've never seen before. Earth Shakers, like, Twisters. I mean, yeah, it is. You think O12 is harder than T7? I don't know about that. Yeah, not everything has Morin. How many different raids are there? There's 3 different raid tiers right now. There's you know, the Coil, which was level 50. You have Alexander, which is level 60, and then you had Omega, which is level 70. You also have the Ultimate raids, which are brand new, and the Stormblood expansion, which are level 70 as well. Those are both S tier. I'm waiting for Scott. Yo, Scott, hurry up, man. Scott, go quick. Come on. Chop, chop. Chop, chop, Scott. Almost done? Okay. I love how we've been sitting here. We've been sitting here for what, like 2 hours? Just sitting in the eastern, he said, holy shit, you found me. What the fuck? How'd you find me? I didn't even have my thing open. Let's go look at the pretty zone. Yo, East Coast is the mastermind controller dive bomb marker. Marking dive bombs with controller since 2019. Just kidding, it's like 2016 or something. This is pretty. It's better doing chaos than 900. Yeah, we do chaos a lot, huh? Oh fuck, you can fall? There's people here, actually. Huh. Who would have thought there were people here? This place is so pretty, and the stars too. What do you mean, UCOB or UWU? UCOB. You talking about UCOB versus UWU? In terms of fight? Yeah, UCOB. Fuck UWU. UWU is bullshit. Aside from Garuda phase, I don't like UWU that much. Ifrit's boring. Titan's alright. The gel mechanic's good, but aside from that, predation.
Take my money.
P.S. You're the reason I'm actually trying to raid and improve instead of spam self-destruct in cities.
Yeah, thanks so much, my friend. $5. Kind words. Where's A11? It's B tier. Because UWU is better? I don't think so. I think being able to cheese predation really. So the thing with like UWU is like predation, you can cheese. Oh my gosh.
Do you know of anyone on Sargadon who would take me into their FC? I'm homeless.
I have no idea. But I'm just saying, because you can cheese UWU, you can cheese predation. Annihilation is pretty much always the same pathing. As a DPS and healer, you're pretty much always doing the same pathing. I'm not sure about tanks, but for Annihilation, nothing changes. Even if the dive is on the other side of the arena, it doesn't change your pathing as like a DPS or healer. And then Suppression is also very, very easy. Because, again, you always take the same pathing for the most part. Like, you know, if you're doing the entropy strat, which you should be, you always take the same pathing. You just look for a debuff. If you don't get a certain debuff, you go to the tanks. If you get 4 eruptions, you know, you're taking the same path as the light pillar. You're taking the same path as, you know, the jail. So it doesn't really change. And then the primal dance is extremely stupid or extremely dumb because, you know, you only need 10% mitigation to survive, and if you do Troubadour there, it covers the first 2, and you can just solo the last one and, you know, have sucker shields up and you're good. Yeah, of course it does. Of course difficulty equates to a fight being better. I mean, obviously it's not the only factor, but like it's a factor. It definitely changes. Like a fight like A5S, even though A5S was like really good mechanically, it's not on the same level as like other ones because it's just. In UWU, there's no responsibility on DPS either. There's no responsibility on DPS, and there's no responsibility on the healer that is White Mage or Astro, unless you're knock shielding it. Whereas like tanks and healers have an extreme amount of responsibility. So the DPS is kind of swayed. Like in Garuda, right? The DPS only have to do... In Garuda, the DPS have to kill the ads. If you have to do the friction mechanic, you do the friction mechanic. And then that's it. You just dodge AoEs, kill the second ads. Ifrit, you have to do the nails, but again, that's it. After that, it's just auto attacks. And you just do rotation on the boss. Titan, you do the jails, but aside from that, again, it's just DPS the boss. And then Predation, you know, everybody does it. Annihilation, you do the same thing, you know, same pathing every time, it doesn't matter. Tanks have to, I think tanks do take a different path depending on the dive, or the Ifrit charge. And then the healers have to do Searing Wind. And then in Suppression, again, everybody takes the same pathing, so it's not too much different, except there's healing there. And then Annihilation, or after Annihilation, there's Vulcan Burst too that you have to shield. And then after Suppression, you have the Aetheric Boom, which is, again, really dependent on the Scholar or knocked Astro. And then you have the shield for the Primal Dance, which is really dependent on the Scholar as well. But there's like, when I did it on Ninja, well, this is really pretty right now. When I did it on Ninja, it was just so much easier than doing it on Healer. Like, I didn't really have to pay attention to anything. Whereas like UCOB, right? You know, DPS. The responsibility between DPS, healers, and tanks is a lot more even in UCOB because, you know, DPS have to do hatches. You know, everybody has to do twisters. You're really pretty. And then, you know, everybody has to do nail phase correctly. Everybody has to do, you know, quick march correctly. Everybody has to do blackfire correctly. Everybody has to do Felrun correctly. Everybody has to do what was it? 10 strike. Whereas like if I died during Annihilation, it didn't really matter. If I died during Predation, it didn't matter. If I died during Titan, it didn't matter unless I died during unless I died right before the jails. Depends what you died to. Yeah, it depends what you died to. Like, if you miss the tower, you're fucked, right? I don't think so. We didn't, like... If you compare, like we didn't... we got 2 deaths and we still did pretty well, and we didn't even have meta comp or, like, super greedy, like, melds or anything. Like, all we really did was we played smart. That's the only reason we played, just because we played smart. Like, with our buffs and stuff. Is there a fight you hope isn't recreated? Moogle Extreme. Moogle Extreme. I mean, I agree with you though, Hacks. Like the punishment factor in Ultimate Phase is pretty much the same as it really like recovery wise. Are you like fuck Moogle Extreme? Fuck it. That fight's dumpster tier. But yeah, like in between UCOB and like there's I mean, there's more mechanics in Yukov that one-shot the group if you fuck up versus Uwu. And Uwu, the only mechanic that really wipes you, I think, if you fuck up is if you fuck up the frictions at the start, where you just have to wipe because you're not gonna have enough to clear or whatever. Then you have the jails, and then the nails if you mess up the order, which you really should never mess up the order in Ifrit nails, I feel like. But that is a place where you can wipe. And then you have Annihilation, the Searing Wind being in the party. And then you have the Orb messing up as well. The tank orbs during Annihilation. Those can screw you up. Suppression is suppression. Generally, if you go into suppression with a death, the jail is a really tight DPS check. So unless you compensate somehow or know ahead of time, you're good. If someone dies during suppression though, you might get screwed over. So it's a nice spot you can wipe a Nuwu. And then no one should ever die during the primal dance. No one should ever die during the primal dance. Never fuck up Ifrit nails, he says. Yeah, should never fuck up. Yeah, there you go. Uwu's S tier? Yeah, Uwu is still one of the hardest fights in the game. I just think Yukov's better. I mean, they're both really good fights. There was really good fights. They're both really, really good fights.